Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
DHS running out of money. The Supreme Court strikes down racial gerrymandering. Artemis II returns to the Kennedy Space Center, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Donald Trump met with executives from Chevron and other energy companies Tuesday to discuss possible steps if the blockade of Iranian ports continues for months. The meeting included senior administration officials and focused on oil production, shipments, natural gas, and oil futures. The talks came as oil prices rose and markets reacted to supply concerns tied to restricted traffic near the Strait of Hormuz. Trump has urged Iran to sign a deal while the administration prepares for a longer blockade. Officials have considered measures to reduce pressure on consumers, including domestic production steps, refinery actions, and coordination with global oil suppliers. The administration has also discussed use of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Iran has said it will continue disrupting shipping until the conflict is resolved. The blockade remains tied to U.S. pressure on Iran to halt its attempt to develop nuclear weapons. The White House warned Congress that funds used to pay Department of Homeland Security workers will soon run out. The warning affects Transportation Security Administration personnel and other DHS employees. The department has faced a funding lapse tied to a congressional dispute over Homeland Security spending. A Senate-passed bill would fund much of DHS, including the TSA and Coast Guard, but it remains stalled in the House. The White House said earlier funds authorized through executive action are expected to be exhausted in May. The shutdown has already affected federal workers and airport operations. More than 1,000 TSA workers have resigned since the lapse began. Immigration enforcement funding remains one of the central issues in the fight. Lawmakers are considering budget options as the department approaches another pay deadline. The White House says continued inaction could create airport disruptions and national security concerns. The Supreme Court on Wednesday struck down Louisiana's House map by a 6-3 vote, clearing a path for GOP redistricting gains across the South. Louisiana had been forced by a federal judge in 2024 to add a second majority black district under the Voting Rights Act. The Trump administration challenged it as an unconstitutional racial gerrymander, and the court on Wednesday agreed, despite the 3 liberal justices saying it would demolish the impact of the Voting Rights Act. The decision arrives during a redistricting war. Virginia's Supreme Court on Tuesday let stand an order blocking certification of a Democrat-favored map approved by voters last week. And in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis unveiled a new map Monday that could net Republicans 4 additional House seats. Ukraine said a drone attack set an oil facility on fire deep inside Russia near Perm, more than 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine. Ukraine's security service claimed responsibility for the strike and said most oil storage tanks at the site caught fire. Russian officials did not immediately confirm the full details of the Ukrainian claim. President Zelensky said Ukraine's domestically produced drones are reaching farther into Russian territory. The reported strike followed other attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, including a recent drone attack at the Tuapse oil refinery and terminal on the Black Sea. Ukraine has targeted oil facilities as part of its campaign to disrupt Russian fuel supplies and revenue used for the war. Russia continued its own strikes on Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The latest exchange shows both sides using long range drones in attacks beyond the front lines. NASA's Artemis II spacecraft returned to Kennedy Space Center in Florida after carrying 4 astronauts around the moon. The Orion capsule, named Integrity, splashed down in the Pacific Ocean on April 10th and was later transported from San Diego to Florida. The mission marked the first crewed lunar voyage since 1972. NASA said engineers will now inspect the spacecraft, including the heat shield and internal systems. The review will support planning for Artemis III, which is expected to include lunar orbit docking work involving landers from SpaceX and Blue Origin. NASA reported that the spacecraft performed well, though issues did occur during the mission. The crew has completed post-flight medical checks and is on a break. Artemis III is scheduled for launch as early as 2028 and is intended to move NASA closer to a crewed lunar landing. SpaceX is preparing a possible public stock offering that could value the company at about $1.75 trillion, according to confidential filing materials reviewed in reporting on the plan. The offering would be the largest public listing on record if completed at that valuation. The documents describe SpaceX's plans to expand beyond launches and Starlink satellites into space-based infrastructure, orbital data centers, and solar power generated in space. The filing also lists risks, including financial losses, heavy reliance on unproven technology, limited artificial intelligence spending, and dependence on Elon Musk. A related governance provision would make it difficult to remove Musk from his roles as chief executive and board chairman without his own consent because of the company's planned dual-class share structure. SpaceX's long-term plans depend heavily on Starship, the company's fully reusable rocket system. SpaceX has not publicly commented on the filing details. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday held rates steady at 3.5% to 3.75% in Chair Jerome Powell's final meeting, with 4 officials dissenting, the most since October 1992. Hours earlier, the Senate Banking Committee voted 13-11 to advance Kevin Warsh's nomination as Powell's successor to the full Senate. In other market news, Alphabet and Amazon reported quarterly earnings after the market closed Wednesday. They beat top and bottom line expectations, in large part to AI. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, reported that profits jumped by 81%, driven by AI investments. Google Cloud brought in $20 billion last quarter, over an expected $18.4 billion, thanks to an uptick in adoption of tools like Gemini and AI infrastructure. Amazon also saw big gains in cloud computing, which rose 28% year over year and exceeded estimates. Meta and Microsoft also reported better than expected earnings, while Chipotle posted a surprise growth in same-store sales last quarter, in a sign the company may be making a comeback. That's the Raw Naked Truth for April 30th, 2026. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.